So today, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about hardwiring your lifestyle. The idea is that if you want something to happen, you can try harder. You can put effort into something every day. Say like you want to exercise, but you can just remind yourself, I gotta exercise today. I gotta remind myself to exercise today. I gotta think about it. Versus simply hardwiring it to happen. So, you build into a structure of your life the behaviors that you want to partake in. And that helps develop ritual, but it also helps reduce the amount of emotional and mental effort that it requires to do the things you want to do. Okay? So, with respect to physical activity, when I was pretty early on in my career in medicine, I saw the spectrum. In family medicine, you see the spectrum. You see people, young people, old people, middle-aged people. And you see how people age differently and how they progress through their life's journey or their health journey differently. And one interesting thing is that the people who aged well and were healthy and physically fit later on in life were those people who had physical jobs, or they had to walk or bike for transportation, or they were just so engaged in a physical pursuit, usually a sport hobby, throughout their lives that they structured their life around that. You built out time to go to the gym, to go skiing, to kayak, to ride sport bike or whatever. Now, I knew that I was into sports, but I didn't see myself structuring my life around sports or a hobby, mostly because I felt like at that point I didn't have time. Medical training, young kids, lots of responsibilities in terms of both my job as a GP or family practice doc and my leadership role. I really felt like it was just not something that was going to happen. So when I look back on my experience as a younger person, I also saw that when I had to ride my bike for my primary form of transportation, I was tireless. I was strong, I was muscular, I was happy, and I enjoyed the autonomy. And as soon as I got my driver's license, that went away. So my freshman, sophomore year of playing basketball, I was absolutely tireless. I couldn't understand why anybody would need to come out of the game, ever, and why my coach would say, "Hey, Rick, do you need a breather?" I'm like, "No, we've got stoppage of play. People shoot free throws, the play slows down, and, playing basketball for, an hour, is really not that taxing." Until I got my driver's license when I was 16. And I started driving everywhere. Yeah. Morning. Got my driver's license when I was 16. And I started driving everywhere. I loved it. Because it's a big leap forward in the size of the world, especially living in the suburbs. The world gets so much bigger and faster, and you can see everything you want to see. Primarily because I was living in a place that was designed around the car. Well, lo and behold, junior and senior year, I was in nowhere near as good shape as I had been the previous years. And if I wanted to be in that kind of shape, I had to put in extra effort to do things like run, do sprints, really unfun things. Well, anyway, jump forward 10 years, finishing residency, figuring out what I want to do, and I realized that I need to hardwire something into my life. And honestly, active transportation was probably the best bet for getting me to regularly do exercise, but also regularly do the intentional, mindful acts every day that I need, where I'm alone with my thoughts. And if I can do it in a natural environment, that's ideal. So what I did, I was looking for a job. I pulled out a map. I decided I was going to stay in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I pulled out a map of the entire metropolitan area, the 6-county area or whatever it is, and looked for green space. Looked for green. I wanted parkland. I wanted to be near it. And ideally, I wanted to put my house on one end of parkland and my primary work site on the other. And I found that in the chain of lakes and line of lakes. Perfect. Bought a house, built a house about 5 miles through the bush, through the woods, to where my clinic was going to be. Now, I spent a lot of time at meetings over the next several years, a lot of time working at the hospital, and I didn't get to ride to work every day because of that. But much of the time I was able to, and once I had the boys, I realized I shifted my priorities around a little bit, away from all the administrative work and towards a better balance in my life. I realized I didn't want to hardwire my life around senior administrative officers in a large company, because that just meant hardwiring my life around the car and around what, sadly to say, are mostly pointless meetings that have very little to do with my values in medicine. So, my values were at home, my values were in my life, and how I hardwired it. So, I decided to organize my life, continue to organize my life around that. So I rode my bike to and from work just about every day. When the boys were small enough and I was able to, I would put them in the back of the cargo bike, take them in. In the wintertime, when I didn't have a cover for my cargo bike, it was just kind of an experiment for me. I would put my folding bike in the back of the minivan, go to daycare, and then from there do the 4 or 5 mile ride to work and back in all sorts of weather. I started to hardwire my life around that. And when we decided to move to New Zealand, we moved to a small town where we could walk or bike. Now, we could have lived at the beach, but that would have required that we drove back and forth. And interestingly, the beach is full of lots of itinerant people, and it's a bit more spread out. You know, the population swells hugely in the holidays, whereas Waihee town is a town, and for better or worse, you know, it's a group of people all sharing the same space, living together, being forced to interact with one another, and that makes for a healthy experience. Oh, look at this. It's Miriam with a coffee. Lovely. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm super, thank you.
Yeah?
Super.
Nice brisk day.
Sun's shining, yep. It's a clear winter's day.
Lovely. So, see, you get to see people. So, I hardwired my life around that. And when we moved to Cambridge, we looked for a place where we could, everything was here. The community was here. So that's hardwiring your life around the lifestyle you want. Part 1. Just getting started on it. Part 1.